Nice to see everybody. My name is Mike Muriel. I'll go ahead and introduce myself, Kyle. It's great to see everybody, so to speak. My name is Mike Muriel. I'm the Central Region Manager for Vector Marketing, and I'll be your MC for this first part of the event. And I wanted to just start by saying it's great for you all to be here. It's great for me to be here to talk to you today about what we're going to do. I'm going to be opening up the meeting today. And let me start by saying congratulations for starting a job. Many of you just recently, if you could just throw your hands up in the air, if you started the job within the last month, we'll call it. How many of you started selling Cutco in the last month? All right, that's fantastic. I started selling Cutco not in the last month. I started selling Cutco in 1992. So I know that I've been selling Cutco longer than many of you have been alive. And I loved selling Cutco as a representative. I started selling Cutco right out of college. I graduated from Williams College in Massachusetts with a degree in political science. Really wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life. I had a trip planned to Japan that September because I wanted to go somewhere that I'd never been. I was there for 4 months. It was an amazing opportunity to travel. But I needed a job before that, just to kind of pay the bills prior to that traveling opportunity. And that's how I stumbled upon Vector. My mom had actually owned Cutco. My cousin attempted to sell Cutco, not very successfully. It wasn't to his, I'm not disrespecting him. He was a young person and he wasn't very serious about what he was doing. In fact, he's a very successful accountant right now. So I don't think it had anything to do with him or even the job. It just more had to do with like where he was at in life. But I wanted to start by telling you that I know exactly what it's like to be a sales representative. I was a representative for the 4 months. And then when I came back from Japan, I was promoted to assistant manager and then consequently the pilot sales manager, the division office manager. I then became a branch manager a year later and then a district manager 4 months later. And then I was promoted to division manager in 2002 and 1999. Sorry about that. And then I became the Central Region Manager, which is a region that spans from basically Chicago up to Canada, over to Eastern Washington, including Utah and most of the Midwest. So I'm your host today, and I didn't say that to try to impress anyone. I just wanted to impress upon you that through hard work and determination, you can do a lot of great things with our company if you so choose. Let me go ahead and start by sharing with you what we're going to be covering today and tomorrow. First, I've got a few opening comments just to kind of set the stage for the event itself and maybe what you're going to get out of today. We've got a great message on selling ultimates and signatures. When I was a representative, when I was brand new, there was no such thing as an ultimate or signature set. And the Homemaker was the biggest set that we sold. But you're going to hear from our Cutco sales professional. What that Robert Wicks, what a Cutco sales professional is, it's an individual who has chosen this as a career. We have people that this is their full-time job. They're not in school. They range from right out of college on up through. Some of our top managers are grandmothers and grandfathers, and they're in their later stages in life, and they're very successful. And they sell anywhere from 200,000 on up to $1 million. And so we have some people that are going to be speaking to you today. Robert Wicks is going to be talking about selling ultimates and signature sets. Nick Snyder, I'll introduce him a little bit later as well. He's going to be talking about selling to Cutco owners. You've all probably run into previous Cutco owner. In my experience, they buy often, more like 90% of the time. So it's really great when you run into Cutco owners, but you'll run into them in pockets, right? So you'll get referred to someone who referred someone else who sold Cutco many years ago. Then we have a break at 4:20, and then you're going to hear from one of our up and coming top representatives and now manager, Lindsay Paulnow, about keys to successful summer. I directly worked with Lindsay last year as her division and region manager, and she's a great person you're going to hear from as well. And then you're going to hear from Sam Paulsner on improving your closing percentage, which is the percent of people that end up placing an order for Cutco, and just also how to drop down. And again, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people struggle with when they're brand new, is just like, how do you drop down? Okay. Tomorrow, you're going to hear from Elliot James, who was our #1 branch manager. And Elliot is a college student, and he ran an office for us last summer. They sold, almost $300,000 worth of Cutco, and then he went back to school. And so it's a really neat opportunity that we have as well for that. You'll hear also from Jacob. I'm not sure why, Kyle, it's not working where I can change the screen. I don't know. This doesn't happen when I'm on my Zoom. Sorry that I'm having a conversation with one of our managers here, but anyway, I'm not sure what to do with that. But after that, we've got Jacob Mislovic, who's going to be speaking about push period excellence. Jacob was a top representative and now manager. And a push period is where, just like the name suggests, that you push yourself and challenge yourself to sell as much Cutco as you can. Katie Haney, who's a mom of 2, she's a Cutco sales professional. She sells a couple $100,000 of Cutco every year, almost on it's not a totally full-time basis because she's got 2 young kids. She's going to talk to you about building great relationships and building rapport and how important that is to selling Cutco and being a successful representative. You're going to hear from one of our up-and-coming new managers also, Casey Fenlon, who's been the #1 manager the last several weeks in our region, which has 100 offices, about building your names list. And Casey is particularly skilled at helping new representatives be really successful. So that's going to be a great message also. And then you're going to hear from Kyle Smith on really what's next and what you can expect next moving forward here. So let's go ahead, and I'm not going to be able to read anything that's in the chat for what it's worth for anyone who's going to chat at me. I wanted to ask you 2 questions, and you'll see there the 2 sets of questions. The first one, as you look at the agenda that I just reviewed with you, what are the areas that you want to improve? So again, I'll go back to the last slide, which is selling ultimates and signatures. A lot of the first day is about selling and about closing and keys to successful summer. You're also going to hear a roundtable message there. And then you'll also hear tomorrow about advancement opportunities and building relationships and building your names list. So I want you just to take a minute to think about, hey, what are the topics that I'm really most excited to hear about over the course of the next 2 days here. And perhaps you don't really know how you want to get better. So maybe it's just, I want to get better at all of them. And I'm really open-minded to, hearing from some really experts at the job. I also think it's really important, personally, whenever I start an hour or whenever I start my day, is just to ask myself, hey, what are my outcomes? Why am I here? There's many places that you could be right now, and you've chosen to be here. My advice always is when you choose to be at an event, a Vector event, make the choice worth your time and worth your while. And certainly that's our objective. In fact, at the end of the event, we will be sending you a survey to get perspective, because we're always looking to improve the quality of content and the delivery of messages for our events. And so, you paid some good cash to be here. And so we want you to get the most out of it. So what are your outcomes? And let me go ahead and unscreen share for just a moment here. And am I sharing anything or no?
No, we're not seeing your screen.
Gotcha. Great. So I'm curious, anyone want to share what you're looking to, how you're looking to improve, or what are some of your outcomes of this event? You can just, I don't know if we've muted people, but
you can just unmute yourselves.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself.
I think for me, it's the big summer push and just all the information that everyone's going to throw at me.
Great. So you're really open to hearing what everyone has to say, and you want to sell a lot this summer. Nick, that sounds great. How about some other people?
I'm looking to get more tips on closing instead of just dropping down to like individual knives, go to like maybe like a smaller set and close like that. So kind of trying to build some more tips on that.
That's fantastic. Glad to hear that. If you happen to have something else going on, if you could do if you could do the courtesy of muting yourself, that would be fantastic. Or if you happen to be in a noisier place, maybe you don't speak up. Any other thoughts on what you want to get out of today or tomorrow?
This is my first summer, and I'm actually really excited to learn how to like really rev it up for the summer and get really successful during the summer, because everyone talks about it being like a really big thing. So I'm excited to see that.
That's fantastic. And I appreciate your sharing that. I think it's Isabel. To give you perspective on, the sales volume percentage wise of our summer, last year, our region sold about $30 million of Cutco. And in the summer, we sold about $15 million. So to give you some perspective, we sell about half of our business happens in the next 3.5 months or so. So, just wanted to give you some perspective. All right, well, let me go ahead and then pivot here. And hopefully you've got thoughts on what you want to get out of the event here. Let me ask this last question here at the bottom of my slide here. And it just says, what can I do to make and to get the most value out of the event for myself, but also what can I do to create the most value for other people? So I want you to just take a minute to think about what you can do to get the most out of the event, and then how you can impact the value of the event for other people. And I'd love to hear some thoughts on that one as well.
I think taking notes and then like going right into action this weekend with some demos or with planning or goal setting is a good way to get the best or the most out of it.
Angela, I think that's a fantastic answer, by the way. So, this evening, I think Friday night is a great night to schedule appointments for people. In other words, schedule your appointments for Saturday right after the event. A good friend of mine, I've known Ari Aberman for 22 years. I met him when he was 18 selling Cutco. It was not uncommon, and it sounds like hyperbole, but it was not uncommon for him to sell like a homemaker or better after a conference, because I remember my first event, and I remember just feeling like I could, walk on water and leap over tall buildings, because you're gonna learn a lot and you're gonna want to implement it. So yeah, that's great. Take good notes and go right into appointments. So that's one of the reasons that we end, midday on a Saturday. How about some other thoughts in terms of what you're going to do to create the most value for other people while you're on this call?
One thing I'm thinking of is, as coming into the summer with newer reps who won't be at this event, obviously because they're not on Cutco yet, but being able to transfer whatever knowledge we learned here to the newer reps if they have questions, or just teaching them skills and constantly growing in your Cutco knowledge.
Yeah, I think, I'm gonna paraphrase some of what you said, Evan. I think one of the ways of thinking about it is, learn this as if you're going to teach it. So that might be, an advice and recommendation that I would give you. The other thing I would recommend is if you're doing something else, go do that. If you're multitasking, I think someone wrote that in there. If you're getting distracted by something, I think that's distracting to other people. That's been my experience when I'm on Zoom. So, do what you can to, sit, have your body language in a way where you're really ready to absorb as much information as you can. Take notes, ask questions, really engage when we ask questions, or if you hear things, or if you hear a great point, throw it in the chat. If you hear like a quote, you're like, wow, that was a great point, or, restate something. So I think that's always another way to really get the most, or to help create the most out of the meeting for other people. All right. So one of the questions I have for you all is, I ask this question often. So if you've been at any of my meetings before, you've probably heard me ask you to just think about, what are your strengths? I want you just to take a minute to think about what your strengths are. And I'd like you to jot them down. So I'd like you to think about, what are your strengths? And then also ask yourself, please, what does the world need? All right. So perhaps there are people on this call right now who are, incredibly creative at thinking of business solutions. So I was watching Shark Tank the other day. I had a few minutes right before dinner, and I just was in the TV room, and I flipped on the TV, and I saw, I think her name is Lori Grenier. I think she lives in Chicago. She just seems like she's got a strength for understanding businesses really quickly and, helping people move in that direction. Right. And I think that's something that the world needs. The world needs people who are have a capacity to teach, young business owners or new business owners how to move forward. Perhaps the strength of yours is your interpersonal communication skills. Perhaps the strength of yours is your work ethic. Perhaps the strength of yours is your ability to empathize. So I want you just to take a couple of minutes to think about what are your strengths. And then I'd also like you to take a couple of minutes just to think about what does the world need? And now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about what would your dream job and or career be? And I know some of you are younger and you might say like, well, I'm not really clear. Do your best to just, even eliminate some things. So if for instance, you don't want to be a professional hockey player, write down NHL hockey player, draw a line through it, right? Because then by process of elimination, it's going to really help you move forward. Kyle, are we able to boot people from a Zoom call?
Sure.
I think we may need to.
Okay.
All right. It just seems like there's one person that I'm going to go ahead and just do it. All right. There we go. Okay. So I want you to think about what is it that my strengths are, what does the world need, and your dream job. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about what are the things that I can learn while I'm at Vector that will help me land my dream job or my dream career. So I want you to think about what are the skills that I'm learning right now that are going to help me in that direction. Anyone want to share what they think some of their thoughts, what are some of your thoughts about what you're going to learn that's going to help you land your dream job? What are some of the competencies that you're going to develop?
I'm getting better at working with people and bettering my communication skills.
And Ella, do you mind if I ask you what's your dream job? What's your dream career? What field is it in even?
It's business.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's definitely going to be really important. Your communication skills, your interpersonal skills, your ability to communicate your thoughts clearly, to solve problems, your ability to negotiate. I mean, all those skills are so important and so essential really in any business. That's fantastic. Even just simply like picking up the phone and calling someone, that's what business is all about. It's about creating new customers, right? If you think about, some of the biggest businesses in the world, whether it's Apple, Netflix, Google, Amazon, their job really at the end of the day is new business acquisition. What are some other thoughts on how you could benefit through the experience at Vector?
Learning online marketing skills.
That's fantastic. What is it that you want to do if you don't mind me asking?
Open my own business.
That's great. Do you mind if I ask what kind of business, or do you not know yet?
So it's like an upcycled thrift store. I would take like the ugly things from thrift stores that don't get sold, and then I would paint them or sew them in different ways and put them back in the market, reducing the carbon footprint on the earth.
That's beautiful and fantastic, and wow.
Thank you.
I mean, it's so cool, Aubrey, that you've got, you have a clarity. I'm imagining you're creative. That's probably one of your strengths.
Yeah.
I'm imagining you have an eye for like that which, you could make that thing great. And the ability to kind of put all that together. I think that's really fantastic. Hopefully you have a vision for making this, an international thing, because I'm sure that it could be an international thing.
Yeah, I do.
I'm glad that you share that with us. So that's really cool. How about anyone else?
Networking and building a client list, really, and helping a customer find what they're looking for and what they're needing.
It's Kylie, right?
Yes.
That is huge. What is it you want to do later in life?
My husband and I are actually launching our business this year. We're building and selling tiny homes.
Wow.
We're building ours first, and we would like to travel the United States using it as a show home so people can walk through, see how we live in it, and decide if they want that or if they'd like to make changes. So being able to communicate with people.
Do you have a website?
Not yet. We're working on it.
All right.
Mostly we're just posting pictures of us, as we're building it.
On Instagram or something, or?
It's actually on Facebook right now.
Great. You want to throw it up there? I mean, we'll, hopefully you can create some clients or something like that. I'm always in how can I help people and how can I connect people? And if you don't have anything just now, that's fine. By the way, I'm not making you do it, but if there's something down the road, share it with your manager to share. I mean, the Vector community is huge. We have 650 offices right now. And so, imagine you just have like this customer base almost that you can, introduce an idea and a concept to. So that's really fantastic. Well, one of the things that it's striking to me is that in this pandemic that we've been going through for a little over a year, people have been forced to think about things. And I don't know if you're aware that there were more millionaires and billionaires created in the Great Depression than any other time. And why is that? Because people had to get creative and think about what is it that, many people, again, unfortunately lost their jobs and were like forced to reckon with, what do I really want to do now that I have no option? And that's one of the things that I'm excited about, is the way that people think today is more about how can I, again, utilize my strengths and do it in a way that works for me and works for my family, and that meets my passion. So I'm really excited for you. When I think about the difference maker between individuals that accomplish what they set out to do and individuals that don't, what are some thoughts that come up in terms of what are the difference makers?
They're excited about their work, they're passionate about it, and they strive to achieve it regardless of the obstacles that they face.
I think that's really well said. Is it Paul? Is that your name?
No, Rashika. That's just
Rashika. Okay. Palatine. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. So that's really fantastic. I think the passion is it's like the spark, right? But I love the rest of your answer also. It's the follow through. I'm not sure if you know this. I heard this recently from Warren Buffett, and he was talking about how 25 years ago, the top 20 companies in the world are no longer the top 20 companies in the world. And I started thinking about that. I was like, oh yeah, the iPhone really got big in 2007. And so Apple was a big company, don't get me wrong, before that, but they were not nearly as big as they are today. And I was like, Facebook wasn't around. Neither was Google, neither was Netflix, Amazon, right? And I started going through the row of companies. And so it's really interesting to think about how challenging it is. Most businesses, and I'm not trying to be a Donnie Downer here, but most businesses fail. And most businesses fail not because there isn't someone that's passionate, but oftentimes it's because of the follow through. And I'm going to just go ahead and share my final thoughts on this subject here. And it's really two people that I really admire. Jesse Graff, if you've ever seen American Ninja, we have a 10 and a 12-year-old. And so a couple of years ago, we started watching American Ninja, and she was on the show, and she wore this like Superwoman outfit. And I was just like, this woman's a BA, I was like, she's a badass. I was like, super impressed with her. And then I love The Rock, right? When I think about The Rock, here's a guy who, had aspirations to be in the NFL and didn't work out for him, and then became, one of the best, highest paid actors right now. And people are approaching him about running for president. I mean, it's just a fascinating thing. He's got a great voice. If you didn't hear him in Moana, But I think about individuals who succeed in life. I think about the fact that they have discipline. And in the book Good to Great, Jim Collins talks about companies that succeed at a higher level than other companies really are no different than individuals. He said what they have is they have a culture of discipline. And so what can we have discipline towards? We can have discipline towards our decisions, right? And a lot of them sometimes are really simple, like a decision about like, when do I wake up? A decision about when do I go to bed? A decision about, do I make 5 phone calls, or do I say I make 5 phone calls but only call 4? Right? And I'm thinking about obviously Vector as I'm talking to you in this respect, but they could be decisions about, hey, do I start this company that I want to have? All right. And who do I partner with? Discipline about our time and how we spend it. You know, Stephen Covey said something to the effect, I think it was Stephen Covey, you know, show me your schedule and I'll show you your priorities. You know, and I when I look back at my life, I think a lot about, you know, my schedule is a reflection of my priorities. And I can look back at my life, having been on this earth for 51 years now, and I can point to, like, my schedule really had a big impact on what my life looks like today. Good and bad, by the way. I've made a lot of good decisions about my schedule, and I made bad decisions about my schedule as well. I think it's about discipline, about our energy, and not only, you know, nutrition, but sleep, you know, meditation, you know, things that really give us energy. You know, being mindful of who and how we spend our time and who we spend our time with. I think those are things that really matter. It's about discipline, about our mindset and our emotional state. So, you know, making sure that you're protecting and you're adding value to your mindset and your emotional state. And then ultimately, when I think about discipline and really the difference maker between a success and not that I'm the end all arbitrator or be all, it's about discipline, about our habits. You know, if you think about, like, what are the habits that you have that serve you, and what are the habits that you have that no longer serve you? And so I want you to really think about, hey, what is my dream job? And are the habits that I have right now, are they aligned with where I want to be? Or are my habits and my time, are they aligned with my strengths? Am I utilizing my strengths? So in other words, if you're good with people, I think it'd be very important to have a job where you're around people, right? If you've got a great scientific mind, you know, it's important to have a job where you're doing things that are scientific based. So I just think it's important to think about, you know, oftentimes it's not the most talented person that succeeds. Oftentimes it's the most disciplined person that succeeds. And again, I'm not trying to tell you how to define success or not, but I'm in the ways that you can define it. Anyway, we've got a great agenda today. I'm really looking forward to this agenda. Thank you again for making the time for today. Hopefully you got a couple of nuggets from my message to start things off.